Hi everyone, so let's try again. We just tried to go live with Dr. Costa, but I was very echoey and I'm not sure. It says I have full bars, so hopefully this should work. Hopefully we can try again. So thank you for your patience. You just never know, do you, with technology? But I really hope that it's going to work this time around. So let's try again. And feel free to let us know how it's... Dr. Costa should be joining us now. And please let it work. Hello, 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 hello.
Yeah, I think that there's, the problem is that the sound is a bit better.
Okay.
Let's try to see how it is.
We'll try again. People are so kind and they've come back in and joined the chat. So if people find that it's very difficult, then we'll stop. If not, then we'll just continue.
Yeah, people can give us their feedback and see how the connection is. One thing that I found is when there are quite a lot of thunderstorms, like there were yesterday, sometimes internet connection gets affected.
Oh, yes, and there's fireworks. I can hear them here. There's so many fireworks going on. Okay, so back to an allergy to fruit and vegetables. Maybe we should start. You said that you tend to see a lot of allergies to tomatoes, but actually they're not true allergies.
They're not true allergies. And then you said about the cooking, like in the milk and egg. That yes, it's the same principle about degrading the protein and rendering ineffective to cause an allergic reaction.
Right. So actually, don't you think it's easier to have food allergy, oral food allergy syndrome than to have any other type of allergy? Because you just have to eliminate the tomato or eliminate the peach, you know what I mean?
First of all, let's clarify one thing. One thing is oral allergy syndrome, and the other thing is pollen food syndrome. Okay. So oral allergy syndrome is the bigger group that has inside it, let's put it this way, pollen food syndrome. Because people can have tingling sensations and sometimes swelling of lips or tongue to fish, meat, eggs, and other things that have nothing to do with fruits and vegetables, that have nothing to do with pollens. So that's why pollen food syndrome. And the other thing again with pollen food syndrome is because people need to be sensitized to birch pollen, and that sensitization normally, which with signs of hay fever normally starts around 3 or 4 years of age, I would not expect pollen food syndrome before that age. So only from that point onwards.
Right. So an adult struggling with oral allergy syndrome, is that oral allergy syndrome or pollen food allergy?
Well, if it is to fruits or vegetables, pollen food syndrome.
Right.
If it is not to fruits or vegetables or some nuts, because you can have pollen food syndrome to nuts as well.
Yes.
And some seeds, not all of them, but some seeds and some nuts, not all of the nuts as well. You can have it.
The most common nuts, do they tend to be like hazelnut and almonds?
Yeah, hazelnut and almonds are the most common ones, yes. I've had probably around 2 cases only of a pollen food syndrome to peanuts. Very rare. I wouldn't expect that at all.
I have pollen food syndrome then, Dr. Costa, with the almonds. Because I get a itchy throat, but when they're peeled, then it's okay.
So if you, the good thing about the principle for nuts and pollen food syndrome is the same as for fruits. So if you roast the nut, so very well roasted, and you do not have any signs, that's a pollen food syndrome. On the other hand, if you roast the nut and the signs are worse, that is an allergy.
Right. Okay. Gosh, I mean, does anyone have any questions? It's just a minefield with allergies, isn't it? There's so much to learn.
And especially this is something that people rarely talk about, the fruit and vegetable allergies, because and recently there was a guideline that I was involved in that the main author was Isabel Skipala about pollen food syndrome. So it was released by the BSACI a couple of months ago. And one of the things that I remember Isabel saying there is that so far for pollen food syndrome, there's no proper evidence saying that there's anything at all that we can do to treat it. But what is interesting is that there was a very small study done in 2019 in the USA that actually showed, this was only 20 children that were involved on the study, so very small. But actually they showed that having immunotherapy for pollens, so for birch pollen, it improved the signs of pollen food syndrome, and there was a couple of them that had the complete resolution of pollen food syndrome. So the reason why is this happening, is it because the extracts that they're using are better? Because in the old days, the way that they did the components in those extracts were different, were much more simple than what they are now. And now they're starting to include other things in there, mainly one thing called PR10s, and that can be helpful. I don't think that they're using, there's another protein involved on all this, but that is a bit more dangerous, called LTPs. I don't think that those are there. But at least, if someone has proper hay fever symptoms, by all means, do immunotherapy. Don't think twice. There's still a lot of lack of information in the country related to immunotherapy. And the effectiveness of immunotherapy, but mainly a lot of people don't even know that immunotherapy exists. And immunotherapy for pollens, so grass pollens, tree pollens, and a couple of other things. So what we call airborne allergens. It is common. I do it very, very often, and people should think about it because there's almost complete resolution of symptoms.
So could you maybe explain what immunotherapy is? And I think there is a question as well.
Okay, so immunotherapy, like in most of the things, oh, there you go, immunotherapy. So basically, the principle behind allergy, because there's several types of immunotherapy, and people should not confuse it, because there's immunotherapy also for cancer. We are not talking about that. There's a completely different principle. The immunotherapy for allergies is we pick up the extract of what causes an allergy, and then it can be either in a liquid, in a tablet form, so to use under the tongue, and also can be as an injection. And then we give that allergen regularly for a period of 3 years. But that is given as a very small dose that does not cause symptoms. When it comes to oral immunotherapy, it does cause tingling sensations around the mouth, the tongue, the lips, and all that, sometimes on the back of the throat. And more than half of my patients have those tingling sensations. They either disappear with time, they tolerate it, or a few of them just take antihistamines when they have that sensation and it goes away. And taking antihistamines does not prevent the effect of immunotherapy. So that's how it works. The difference between subcutaneous and sublingual is that sublingual, people can take it home, and they take it every single day under the tongue. There's a protocol of how to do it. Whilst subcutaneous, it has changed slightly. There's a few of them that they are upgrading those, but normally it is once a month they need to go to clinic and get an injection. Of course, most people don't like needles, so it is easier to go ahead and choose sublingual. But the good thing about that, and there's dozens, hundreds of papers on that, is that we know that immunotherapy, especially pollen immunotherapy, prevents the development of asthma, because quite a significant amount of people in this country that have asthma, it is allergic asthma, because they had what we call allergic rhinitis or hay fever, when they were very young that was not very well controlled, and it kept on progressing. And there's some studies showing that it starts on the nose and it ends up on the lungs. There's many studies done on that. So, and because it was not well prevented, it progressed to the lungs, and mainly those people have quite significant signs when the pollen season starts.
Right. So, I think firstly you answered, you asked a question. I hope that answered your question. And then there is a question here from the real Karen, who says, I am currently doing immunotherapy for pollen. However, I need to start with a year of immunotherapy to dust. How is this related?
Okay. It all depends what she means by dust. Does she talk about house dust mites? Because a lot of people that say dust normally is house dust mites. So let's go back again for the beginning of immunotherapy, in which people could only do one immunotherapy at a time. And if you went for 3 pollen immunotherapy, you could not do anything else until 3 years have ended. Now, things have evolved quite a lot, so much so that there's companies that actually on the same flask, they can put several allergens that are completely different. Although, in my opinion, and studies show that there's no point in putting too many there, because it's just going to decrease the amount of allergen that you're going to be exposed to, and probably the effect is not going to be very good. But on the other hand, you can also start one immunotherapy and a couple of weeks later start another different immunotherapy. You can do it, and it is effective.
So
okay?
where do patients go then?
Sorry?
So where, if you have a mother watching now and her child has multiple allergies, where can she go for immunotherapy?
Well, they need to go to an allergy clinic, but an allergy clinic that does immunotherapy. Because unfortunately, not all the allergy clinics in the country do immunotherapy, especially if you're talking about NHS. And a lot of the allergy clinics in the country only do grass pollen immunotherapy, not much more than that. And then you can have the bigger centers in which they do all sorts of immunotherapy, including the most risky ones, which is venom immunotherapy. So people that are allergic, for instance, and this is it's not deviating because it has to do with pollens, that are allergic to bee stings, wasp stings, there is immunotherapy for that. So, but they need to go to an allergy clinic, and it's easily started, very, very easily started.
And there is also immunotherapy for people allergic to peanuts, for instance, as well.
Different. It's not the same process. So, because while we're talking about, what it comes to these immunotherapies that we're talking about, so currently the ones that are more common, that can be done either sublingual or by injection, are tree pollens, grass pollens, house dust mites, cat, dog, bees, wasps, and fire ants. Those are the most common. We also do immunotherapy for horses, because people with allergy to horses. So that it can be done as well. Now, and the list is quite long, but mainly are those types of airborne allergens. What it comes to peanut immunotherapy, so while the other ones after 3 years, as I said, depending, it varies from person to person. But after 3 years, a lot of them, they have complete resolution of symptoms. A lot of my patients start seeing improvement of their symptoms after 4 months. And that is why a lot of them, not with me, but in the NHS, they fail, is because after 1 year, they feel so much better, they say, I don't need this anymore. And then they revert symptoms. So you need to stick to 3-year program. Now, when it comes to peanut immunotherapy, it's not the same process. It is something that you need to take for the rest of your life. And all the evidence shown so far is that if you stop peanut immunotherapy, it reverses.
Right.
Doesn't matter how old you are, how many years you have been doing, it reverses. So studies have shown that. So they're trying to see if you can prolong that for a little bit longer, but so far nothing has shown. Nothing at all has shown. And people, the two clinics that have proven that long time ago, actually. There's a clinic in Israel, and there's a clinic, I never know if it is Florida or California, one of the two, in which they've been doing tailored immunotherapy, so oral immunotherapy, not just for peanuts, but for tree nuts as well. And their studies show, because they have a massive population by now, their studies have shown that if people stop taking it daily, and there's a certain amount of time, I don't remember how long it is, if they stop taking it, it reverses completely to where they were before. Right. So as you can imagine, it's a dampening of the symptoms, but we cannot, it is within the immunotherapy, okay, but it works in a different way, because also by doing that, that does not mean that, for instance, you do the immunotherapy, peanut immunotherapy, it does not mean that after 3 years you can pick up a bag of peanuts and eat it. You can't. If the peanut immunotherapy is for 3 peanuts or 4 peanuts, which is normally the highest one, which is 1.2 grams of peanut protein, you can only eat 4 peanuts. You cannot eat more than that, because you are at risk of getting an allergic reaction. So mainly is to avoid the risk of, when you go somewhere, the cross-contamination, protein transfers and all that, yes, is to prevent the risk of having an allergic reaction like that. So it's not like the other ones.
Thank you for clarifying that. But immunotherapy is just incredible. I don't think we know enough about
it. There's still so much research going on immunotherapy, and as I said, that there's a very interesting piece of research going on in Australia. I don't know where it is currently. They published some papers a while ago. It is to something called Nishti that they were developing, and Nishti is a neurotransmitter that we have. And they were going to phase 3 trials in human population. So I think that those are running. But what they shown in mice is that they reversed completely their allergies. And even after 1 or 2 injections, they reversed completely their allergies. And then they stopped it, and they tested again far later down the line. And the mice did not react again, even if they stopped it.
Wow. Right.
So that is promising. So now they're going for human trials. As I said, I don't know where they stand at the moment.
Thank you. We've got a few questions come through. So proper plant nutrition, Sheila, she says, can you develop allergies later in life? And could it have something to do with how the food is produced? For example, pesticides.
Mm-hmm. Talking about quite a different ballpark. I've had people coming to me with supposed allergic reactions, in which what they had was a significant reaction to a pesticide. Yes, it presents. So it is so severe that it is confused with anaphylaxis.
Gosh.
But the treatment is slightly different. The problem is when they go to A&E with those symptoms, they are given adrenaline and all that. But often some of them might need something different called atropine to reverse what they call, because pesticides work in a completely different type of neuroreceptors, and atropine is the one that reverses that. So it has nothing to do with adrenaline. Adrenaline needs to decrease inflammation because it's a very powerful steroid. So, but it does not block neuroreceptors, while on a pesticide, because of the organophosphorates that they use, that blocks neurotransmitters that lead to symptoms very, very similar to anaphylaxis.
So
go organic, my suggestion.
Sorry?
My suggestion is go organic.
Yes, I agree with that. As much as you can.
Yeah.
So, how do you test for pesticides then in a child or an
You
adult?
don't. Oh, there's no way of testing it. There's no way in testing it. So it would be by almost by exclusion and guesswork. So if someone comes, oh, because they were eating, and bear in mind one thing, this happens only, so far my patient that I had with similar symptoms, only happens with fruits and vegetables, okay? So what I do with the fruits and vegetables, because it's the best test possible, is what is called a prick-to-prick test. Don't get fooled into doing blood tests and all that. The only blood test, again, and it's something that we spoke about a long time ago, and I keep on beating the same thing, is component resolved diagnostics. Okay? Much more specific, it will tell you a lot, give you a lot of information about what you're allergic to. But so, prick-to-prick tests to fruits or vegetables is the gold standard. Okay, well, the gold standard is always the food challenge. But below that, the best way, don't go for allergens, for the extracts that we use in clinic for other things. The best one is you bring the fresh fruit and vegetable in separate containers. That's what actually, tomorrow I'm going to test one for avocado. They bring it in separate containers, and then we prick the fruit or the vegetable, we prick the skin, and we see if there's a reaction.
Right. I need to come and get the peach test done then.
Yes.
And Freya says, my son had, sorry, I know it's echoey, so I'm trying to whisper.
That's all right.
My son has several severe IgE food allergies and has just started having hypos. Do you know of any allergies and low blood? Oh, that's so interesting.
No.
Yeah,
quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. When someone has an allergic reaction, an allergic reaction leads to a stress-related reply. And the stress-related reply normally leads to the release of things like adrenaline. So any steroid that it is released into the bloodstream will raise blood sugar significantly, will not make the drop of the blood sugar. Okay, and recently I was speaking to someone because a child was having similar symptoms to that, and I said that no, it didn't seem to me that was an allergic reaction. Anything that drops blood sugar, so what we call an hypoglycemia, is because either there's too much insulin being produced, which normally that's what brings blood sugar quite low, or if there's any response whatsoever because they are fasting and insulin and blood sugar is very low, that we have compensation mechanisms by release of other things, namely glucagon, and there's another process called neoglycogenesis and so on and so forth, a lot of tricky names, that they, in a very fast way, especially with glucagon, it raises the blood sugar quite significantly. So when either glucagon is not being produced, or too much insulin is being produced, or there's another metabolic problem there, blood sugar will go low. But the stress response, no. The stress response will put your blood sugar so high, then sometimes people think that they have diabetes.
Yes, I just want to add to that because I come from a diabetes background, and reactive hypoglycemia has become quite common. I see that in a lot of teenagers, not very young children, but teenagers. So Freya, I want just to hear, how low is the blood sugar, but also your child's diet. I'm not sure if you're eliminating a lot of food groups, given that they have IgE to a lot of foods. So just saying, it would be interesting to hear.
Yeah, we're talking about a completely different mechanism, not associated with allergy.
Yes,
no.
Okay.
That has to do with the cycle of insulin production.
Yes.
Or not.
Okay, so Kirsty said, now Kirsty, she was also on the chat from previously, and I know she really enjoyed it, and I told her to get some snacks and some drinks,
Yeah.
So Kirsty says, my 4-year-old took anaphylaxis to a smoothie containing cherries, raspberries, strawberries. She hasn't had skin prick for these fruits yet. Has next appointment on the 19th of November. is she likely to be allergic to all berries?
Unlikely. Unlikely. Allergies to berries are not a common thing. Not at all. Not at all.
Was it just berries in that smoothie, Kirsty? Or was there anything else? So we'll just wait
Now, bear in mind one thing, and this has happened with my son. And this was a while ago. We went to a restaurant, and my son asked for. They had a smoothie, a chocolate and strawberry smoothie. Okay, so he started reacting, and then when I looked at it, they had just almost like a matter of decoration. They had put the inside of the glass with like lines of Nutella.
Oh.
Okay, so very often people do that because, you know, makes it nice and all that, and they put things there without telling us that those are allergens. So if you ask for a berry smoothie, consider if they put like some fairy dust there that will cause an allergic reaction, because with my son that happened, and because he's allergic to hazelnuts amongst other things, he had an allergic reaction. Okay, and for something that on the description did not say hazelnut, did not say Nutella, that's why we went for it.
That is just poor food labeling, allergy labeling. Unfortunately, yeah. Still very common.
And people decide to take to do something when they're cooking the food that is not what it is on the menu. You know, if you order something from the menu and it says exactly what that food or that drink contains, you ask it safely, but then someone inside decides, oh, let's do something that seems to be cute, and then they cause an allergic reaction.
Yeah, right, and that's why we need more awareness, like these chats, because it can be so dangerous for families.
Yeah.
And now there is another question, Dr. Costa. So obviously we're trying to focus on fruit and vegetable allergies, but I think we both know that different questions come our way.
We're going to go all over the place.
Yeah. So breastfeeding mama of an allergy baby. Hi there. Baby reacted to banana and avocado and confirmed via skin pricks to be IgE positive. Is it possible for children to outgrow these? If so, when can this happen?
Unlikely.
Unlikely to outgrow.
Yes, and the child should be tested for latex as well.
Yes.
Because the two names, among others, share something which, again, people don't often talk about, which is latex fruit syndrome. So in the old days, people mainly used to think about things like kiwi and avocado. So if they are reacting to that, the main thing to test, if it was me, I would not just test for the banana and avocado. I'll test for latex. If the latex is negative, the likelihood of having other fruits involved, low, very, very low. But it's something to consider. There's a list. Give me a second, because I put here somewhere. Yeah, avocado, banana, bell pepper, chestnut, fig, kiwi, peach, and tomato. Those are the ones that can lead to a latex fruit syndrome.
Right, how interesting. So can you be allergic to some of those and still not be allergic to latex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like this. Children or anyone that is allergic to latex has around a 30% chance of being allergic to one of these. Okay? If they have eaten it before, forget it, no point in testing. But if they have never eaten, especially children, and they have reacted, you know, sometimes in school, they reacting to a balloon or something that is there on the school play that is made of latex, test for latex. Okay, and then inquire what fruits and vegetables they have eaten, because I always ask that to my patients: what fruits and vegetables have they eaten, especially I always go for avocado, mango, banana, because those tend to be the most common ones. And there's been a rise in banana allergy.
Yes, I've
And
seen
if,
some
and if
as
I'm not
well.
mistaken,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken, Natasha, the girl that passed away, you know, for the reason why Natasha Foundation started, the first anaphylaxis that she had at around 6 months of age was to banana.
Wow. Okay. Well, how come this is rising, banana allergy?
You know, there's a lot of ideas. One of them is one idea says that the more we increase giving it, the more the allergy is going to increase as well. The other one is the more we take it away and all that, and the more we restrict foods, the more they eat. Like leads to this. Well, considering this way, and if you're talking about fruit and vegetable allergies, it's going to be hard to say, for instance, what is the incidence of one or the other because it varies from country to country. As a matter of example, the vegetable in China that most often causes allergies, bamboo.
The most commonly grown plant is the plant, isn't it?
Bamboo. But now, see, how often are you going to? I've never had a bamboo allergy in my life. I've never seen one. But the
It's
prevalence in that in China is much higher. Is one of the highest prevalences of vegetable allergy there. So see, country to country, and how much people are exposed. And if you're going to see on the same context, you're going to see that, for instance, seafood allergy is higher, for instance, in Southeast Asia or even Mediterranean countries, than on the rest of Europe that they don't eat a lot. So I think that probably is not just because of the exposure, because the more you eat, the more people are going to tell you, I have an allergy to that. So I think that sometimes those numbers, when you come to other countries and say, oh, there's not a lot of allergy of that. Well, probably there's not a lot of people showing the allergy because they've never eaten it and showed symptoms of that before.
How interesting. I hope that was helpful. Breastfeeding mom of an allergy baby. So basically, in short, it's very unlikely that your daughter will outgrow her allergy to avocado and
it's very unlikely. You know, you can test it, and especially for those in those conditions, that is when I would request component resolved diagnostics, because if the child is very young and the likelihood of being allergic to birch pollen is probably not there, then the likelihood is, instead of being allergic to the PR10s or profilins type of proteins, which are the heat degradable ones, they are very likely allergic to LTPs, the lipid transfer proteins, which are highly heat resistant, very highly heat resistant. They are so resistant to so many things that is very difficult in most fruits or vegetables to have an extract of LTP for us to test as a skin prick test.
Right. So you do those tests, don't you?
I do the skin prick test and the component result diagnostics. Yes, I do it quite frequently. More the skin prick test than the component resolved.
Yeah.
But when in doubt, doing component result diagnostics, yes, definitely.
Okay, so you know the smoothie, the lady whose child reacted to the smoothie, firstly, she now says cherries and apples also have avoided these fruits since it was a pre-made innocence with real fruit. They should have correct food labeling, I would hope.
Yes. In doubt, prick-to-prick tests. To all of them. Yeah. To everything that the child has reacted to, prick-to-prick tests.
Make sure you write that down for your appointment on the 19th.
Well, it's as simple as if the child is going to have an appointment soon, preemptively buy those fruits and berries, get them in separate containers. Remember, when you touch one of them to put it in the container, wash your hands very well, choose another one, and then keep on doing the same process. And when you go to clinic, say, look, child has reacted to this, can you test it?
Brilliant. So being pre-prepared.
And
That's
then
fantastic.
easy. Then you're going to have an answer. Was it or not?
Thank you. That's so helpful. I hope that's helpful for you, Kirsty. Okay, Freya says, thank you so much. Good to know it's nothing to do with his allergies, the hypo situation.
Yes.
It is after fasting, so I don't think it's reactive. Okay. Yeah, I think there's a whole other topic, Freya. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, and I can see if I can help you further with that. Okay, so we also have another one here which says, Kate says, when introducing main allergens in small quantities, like a quarter teaspoon, half teaspoon, etc., when do we stop doubling quantities and just offer more?
So, which
allergies, Kate?
You are thinking in actually the opposite way that I do. You think about doubling, and when do I stop it? The way that I do is like this. I look at what is the portion that is appropriate for that age. Okay? And then that portion that is appropriate for that age, I half it. And I keep on halving it until it gets to the whatever teaspoon or the tip of a teaspoon. Okay? So then I have my plan going from the top to the bottom. Okay? When I've made my plan, then I use that plan and start from the bottom to the top. And that way, you know exactly when to stop.
Oh, that's very tangible. So, for example, let's see, Kate, if you tell us which food allergens you're referring to, and then maybe Dr. Costa can go into a bit more detail. That's very interesting.
It's easy because, look, it's like, this is the principle of a food allergen, a food challenge, in which we need to be involved with the dietitian saying, look, tell me, because I won't know. I fed my son by the bucket load, whatever he eats, whatever he doesn't. But, the principle is that we ask the dietitian, so what is a portion that is appropriate for this age? And if they say, for instance, no, it is 300 grams of whatever it is, we pick up the 300 grams and we keep on halving until we have the small amount. So that means that sometimes you're going to have things like 10 or 12 steps. It doesn't matter. We need to go this way. Oh, you're talking about almond butter. So for any child around 1 or 2 years of age, we aim for 2 teaspoons, flat teaspoons of whatever spread we're aiming. Okay? So 2 teaspoons is the normal. Start halving it. And remember, he's not halving it by mixing it with something else. No, because that way you don't know. And actually, you're going to give sometimes too much, or they're not going to eat it completely. It is just the nut butter. Mm-hmm. If the child tolerates that nut butter, then afterwards, by all means, yeah, do a nut party or butter party, whatever you want to call it. Mix it all.
Kate, let us know if that answered your question. Can I just also add to that? Because I sometimes speak to parents that although there are no allergies, they are very cautious with introducing allergens into the children's diets.
Yes.
And they go with the 3-day rule as well. And I always discourage that. I don't know what you do, Dr. Costa, but there's variety is key in children's diets, and sometimes if you go with a 3-day rule, it can take you ages to introduce foods into your child's diet, and actually we now know that variety in children's diets also helps to reduce the risk of food allergies later in life.
Absolutely. People need to think about something very, very important, which is, and this, if you're going to go to something slightly different, but related to this, which is every single food has a sugar, and we produce enzymes to most of those sugars. Some others that we don't produce, actually, nature is very intelligent, and actually, on the fruit or the vegetable or the nut or whatever it is, there's bacteria that actually produces the enzyme for that sugar. So when we ingest that fruit or vegetable, we are eating the bacteria that is going to colonize the large bowel, leading to the increasing numbers while in the large bowel, and therefore degrading the sugar for that particular food. Now, how is this important? Because it's something that a lot of people have spoken about, and I spoke a while ago at Imperial College of someone that was doing an investigation there, but nothing has been done yet. And what is the relationship between the bacteria and the development of allergies? So that is still a very big unknown, and there's a lot of things that I've read recently about that, in which people suggest that there's a link between the two. So again, variety, yes, do all that as natural as possible. I know that, you know, sometimes it's easy to get a pouch or to get a jar with which everything is there, but you know, once in a while, yeah, you need to do it, but
yes.
as fresh as possible.
Yes, exactly. Because it increases and all these wholesome foods, fruit and vegetables.
Because also consider another very
that's a whole
important
other
thing.
topic.
Consider another very important thing is when they do a jar or one of those pouches, all of that needs to be ultra pasteurized. So therefore exposed to very high temperature, in which a lot of the things inside there that are healthy, including bacteria, are gone.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you on that one. I think it can be a bit of a controversial topic, you know, because convenience is important, but nothing will ever
controversy. I like that.
Wholesome fruit and vegetables and whole cooked foods. Nothing will ever come close. Okay, so let me just see. Oh, some more questions. So Garrett says, our 10-month-old twins have CMPA confirmed, non-IgE. Quite a fight to get a diagnosis. We are not under any clinic navigating the allergy world alone. Any advice?
Well,
you go first.
It's tricky because a diagnosis of CMPA, if it is non-IgE, should be done by primary care.
Yeah.
Okay, but unfortunately primary care most times does not do it, and they send all those patients, after doing sometimes a lot of trials, sometimes not, they send it to secondary care or to private practices, all that, to see if they can be dealt with. But those things, and actually the guideline about non-IgE cow's milk protein allergy is focused at primary care for the diagnosis and management to be done at primary care, not at secondary care.
Gareth, I have a video where I speak about how you can diagnose it, basically at home. But I don't know if there are formulas there, but there is a way for you to do it. So I will send you the guidelines and the video after this chat. Okay. Kirsty says, thank you, very helpful. Kate says, almond butter. Oh, so that's the one with the quarter. And actually, you used almond butter as an example, didn't you?
Yeah. Because I read it once. She was saying about that. Yeah. Sometimes I do.
Sorry, I'm a bit behind here. So Manpreet says, my daughter has 3. Sorry, I'm whispering, guys, because it's echoey, but I don't really think
Go on.
My daughter has 3 nut allergy, but is okay with peanuts. Our dietitian has tested her negative for repeated SPTs to almonds, so they've asked us to wean at home, but everything may contain other nuts. Not sure if I understood that.
Okay, so there's a lot. Not everyone that is allergic to tree nuts will be allergic to all the tree nuts. Now, then it is a matter of the advice that is given to introduce that nut that the child is not allergic to. and it depends also on how parents are comfortable of doing it. You know, I can give you an example which is probably not the best example, but, and again, my son is not allergic to almonds and Brazil nuts. So I always have, but neither myself nor him, we don't like Brazil nuts at all, so we don't eat it. But almonds, I have bags of almonds here, and he keeps on eating bags of almonds, you know. All the other things excluded, but I do this at home because, you know, supposedly I know what I'm doing. But also when we go out, different. If there's something, a sweet that has almonds, I'm extremely careful outside because the environment I cannot control.
You can't control, yeah.
Again, it can happen like the same that we spoke about before. Someone likes to put some fairy dust there, and then we have a problem.
Yes, yes. So how would this, I mean, I don't know how old her daughter is, but how would she go about, you know, adding tree nuts into her child's diet safely at home? I think that's what she's asking.
The process is exactly the same as we were talking about with almond. You start with the calculate the dose, go down, and then go up.
Yeah.
So that is the process that applies to every single child. You know, she's saying it's 2.5 years old. Again, I would aim for 2 teaspoons, and then if tolerates 2 teaspoons, by all means, let her eat as much as the child wants afterwards. You know, but aim for the 2 teaspoons initially as a test, and then see. But this type of guidance should have been given on the clinic.
Yes.
Where the child went. You know,
I was about to say that. I think you should definitely have had some guidance.
Because what happens is the person that makes a diagnosis needs to give a plan of either exclusion or inclusion. Okay, is not this is what your child is allergic to. This is not this is what your child is not allergic to. Bye bye, go away. It cannot be like that. So the role of an allergy clinic is to inform and to try and prevent the development of further allergies. And we know that by not introducing things that the child is not allergic to, increases the risk of developing an allergy to those things that now we're not introducing. So this needs to be very well managed, and that all that advice should be given there at the allergy clinic.
Yes, yes. No, Manfred, I hope that's helpful. You know, maybe ask your dietitian for further guidance on that, because it's also hard, you know, answering people's questions when actually you are patients of Dr. Costa, you know. So we have to be a little bit mindful of that.
If any of those are my patients, they know that I'll give them full advice.
Yes, exactly.
All of them.
Yes.
And actually, I've already seen one or two mothers of some of my patients in the past that have joined,
Lovely,
and they can say how much advice I give them in clinic.
You do, you definitely do. Okay, so the Bowden baby says, my son has bad hive reaction last week to leek, which made him wheezy and his eyes bloodshot. Is this normal? When
Was it leek?
Onion and garlic. Leek. I've never
Okay.
heard that one before.
Some people talk about the cross-reactivity between leek and celery.
Leek and celery.
Yes. So I would avoid both of them and test, because remember that celery is one of the 14. There are the 14 major allergens. Celery is one of them.
Is your son okay with celery? The Bowden babies? Let us know.
So I would be careful and test it. But most times, even in celery, they tend to outgrow it.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Garrett says, thank you for your advice. We were diagnosed privately. Advice to exclude eggs until 10 months. How is it best to introduce eggs now?
Yeah. I should start writing a book of the things that I've heard that parents have been advised to do or not to do. You know,
Yes, yes.
the likelihood that then I'll be sued by someone, but I'm fine with that. But yeah, I've heard incredible things from coming from people that I would not expect, of excluding things now and introducing in 2 years' time because that's the best way to do it, and you know, and all sorts of variations. That's not what evidence suggests to do, not at all. And as I
Yes.
said, you know, as doctors and especially medicine being a science, it evolves, and we need to follow the latest guidance.
Yes.
We need to read. You need to read a lot.
Yes, Gareth, I would be interested to hear if you also introduced peanut, actually, but because we should be actively exposing our children to all food allergens, not wait till 10 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so Manpreet says, but the shop packets all may contain other nuts. She's confirmed IgE to pistachio and cashews. So will this not be a risk? Oh, I think she's asking about the may contain label. Oh, the may contain.
Okay. I think that we should leave that for another time because there's so much debate about that. Yeah. Be careful.
Be careful, yeah. It's a bit hard to answer that question in a live chat, but we understand your concerns about
the be careful is a short version.
Yeah. The Bowden babies, do you only recommend an EpiPen to those having breathing issues with immediate reaction? Or would one be useful with immediate high reaction with later?
If it is proven it was an allergic reaction to that, yes. If it is disproven, because the problem about babies is coincidental reactions, and especially around now, they will have loads of wheezy episodes because of viral illnesses, and there's going to be a lot of coincidences between eating something and having a viral illness and then causing a wheezy episode, and then you think it is due to the food, and in reality it's not. So if it is a proven allergy, then okay, that allergy led to a wheezy episode, that is the equivalent to a sign of anaphylaxis, needs adrenaline.
Right, right. Thank you so much. I can't believe it is 9 o'clock. Time flies with you, Dr. Costa. Time flies. And I'm not sure, I mean, if anyone is enjoying the chat, make sure you are showing us some love because, you know, Dr. Costa is giving us a lot of his time. And okay, 2 more questions. And I'm just mindful.
Let's go 2 more questions.
Heather says, my son has 14 confirmed IgE allergies and is finally ready for hospital challenge for 1 soya, in bracket. Waiting list for the challenge is over a year. Is there anything we can do at home?
No. No. Confirmed allergies by skin prick tests. If it is by skin prick test, no, don't risk it. Yeah. Don't risk it. No, I have parents that have done that, and some of them, I have parents that go to literally the park on the A&E car park to give the fruits and vegetables. No, it's dangerous, extremely dangerous.
Yes,
extremely dangerous. And in one way, if you're going to go to the legal aspect of that, if a parent is advised not to give something and they decide to give it anyway, being it on the car park or not being on the car park, we need to involve social services immediately.
Yes.
So for all aspects, but mainly for the child's safety, please don't.
It must be really hard to have to wait for that long. I can understand your question.
So, our dietitian told me to sit on the A&E car park to try nuts and peanuts.
Okay. Right.
Okay. I'll prefer not to make a comment.
But yeah, I'm also interested to hear, you know, what what kind of test was it? You know, because there are lots of tests out there we can't trust. So that is the chat we had previously. You know, so if anyone's watching, there is another live chat with Dr. Costa a few weeks ago. If you check on the Instagram, you will be able to go back and learn all about testing for allergies.
Not all, but a bit, at least a bit.
Okay, so I think we should finish because it's 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that we still have a lot of things that we can discuss in another chat.
I know. Thank you so much for your time and all the value you're giving to all these families.
You're very welcome, Nishti.
Thank you so much. And I'm glad that we managed to make it work, although it's still a bit echoey.
Oh, it is. It ends. It works in the end of the day. That's the whole thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching.
Thanks for joining.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
See you.